The following program is a paid presentation by Cereset Fargo. Take ownership of your health. This is Smart Health with Dr. Alla, helping people help themselves.
Welcome to another episode of Smart Health, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. It's going to be a really, I think, informative conversation. I have two great ladies that we're going to be able to speak about their journeys and how they have intentionally built back their lives to the degree of certainty that they want, more focus, more attention to detail, happier, and driven. And so today, intentional health is what we're going to speak about, and we're going to talk about the most important organ, at least in my opinion, and I'm glad I have one, and I know you have one, and that's your brain. Your brain participates in every decision that you make, every relationship that you have, every stressor that you need to respond to. It participates in deep, restful sleep, how you think, how you work, and of course, the most important, how you experience the world. And that can change from day to day. And so I utilize a technology that we call Cereset, which means brain reset. It's non-invasive. It is vetted and studied in research trials, both in the military as well as in prisoners, and they continue to research it and they continue to find positive outcomes without influencing the brain, rather giving the brain the opportunity to hear itself in real time. And because the brain has such innate capacity to restore its operations, this process of Cereset helps people's brains relax, rebalance, and reset. And today I want to introduce a dear friend, a person that I've watched suffer and then move through some amazing positive changes as her brain balanced with the process of Cereset as one of the technologies that she invited into her journey after suffering a mild traumatic brain injury. So I want to welcome Jan to our call this morning. It's actually afternoon, so I should get back on the right time clock and give you a little bit of context to Jan before we have her answer some very important questions. Jan was in a motor vehicle accident, suffered a traumatic brain injury. Light became toxic. She couldn't stand it. Sound even more toxic. She couldn't go to church and sit and enjoy the music. It would be overwhelming. She always presented wherever she was in these big blue blockers on her eyes. And I often wondered, what in the world is going on with this lady? I would see her in my clinic in Fergus Falls. Her head was down. She was shuffling. And I thought, well, my gosh, does she have a neurodegenerative disease? Later to learn when we started speaking that she suffered this injury. And it changed her life. She was a professional. She went to work every day. She was independent. She loved her horses, loved going on trail rides, loved her friends. And after that trauma, everything changed. So I want to welcome Jan to our call, and I'm going to ask her some really important questions about her experience and how the process of Cereset has made a difference in her life. So welcome, Jan, to the call. Thank you for being here today.
Hello.
Hi, dear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fabulous.
Can you hear me?
I can. So,
Good.
Jan, really important question that I want to ask you.
Yep.
What did an ordinary day feel like inside of your brain after you suffered this terrible accident?
I had a terrible headache, like I was in a vice grip. I sat on my couch in my apartment and just cried. I couldn't, very eye sensitive, very people sensitive, any noise. And I was just a nothing. And I'm a fighter. I don't want to live that way.
Jan, when you were in that, deep, dark period of your, what you at that point didn't think was going to be a recoverable scenario,
Yep.
What did you have to give up that hurt you the most in your life? during this period of just unknowns?
Well, okay, now I start crying. Anyway, I had to give up my horse. My sister took him, and I was boarding at Red Horse Ranch Arena, so I could no longer ride. I could no longer walk. I could no longer speak a sentence, because I would put words in there like, where'd that word come from? It just didn't make sense. And everything in my apartment was dimmed. I couldn't have the TV on. I couldn't have the radio on. I couldn't have, my cell phone was dimmed. Everything was dimmed, as dark as it could be. And my friend would come over and she'd go, I can't even read your phone. It's so dark. But I just kind of felt like nothing, a nobody.
Jan, how long did you suffer with this before Cereset became part of your journey? How long were you in this state of overwhelmed with noise, overwhelmed with light, overwhelmed with people, with the difficulty of thinking? How long was this process?
I'm going to guess probably a couple weeks, because I was at Revive, and then Cereset came to life.
How many years did you suffer post-accident? When was the accident?
The accident was in 2015.
So it's been a bit, right?
Yep. So then I grabbed onto Cereset probably, well, not long after.
Well, it would have been probably closer to 2020, Jan. So it would have been at least 5-6 years that I unfortunately watched you suffering. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, that could be.
That's okay. Timelines are timelines. I can't remember what I did this morning, so I'm like a goldfish and forget everything in a minute, only to ask questions and have someone remind me of what I was doing this morning. But stress is a big deal. And for Jan, it illustrates that even the remembrance of when the accident happened, it becomes so traumatic that she doesn't even want to think about it. She doesn't want to think about going back to that very dark time. So when you went through the Cereset process, Jen, describe what it is that you experienced for the audience, because many of them still don't know what Cereset is. And
right.
I want you to address, is it painful? Does it feel overwhelming? Tell me what a Cereset experience feels like for you.
Well, you sit in a recliner chair with a heavy blanket or a light blanket, and the technician puts little tabs in your hair where they're supposed to be, because she knows what she's doing there. And painless, you take a nap, your brain will do different things. Your arm might raise up, it might raise down. You might have different movements in your face. But it's non-invasive. There's no pain. You just lay there and you listen to your brain creates the tunes, and you listen to the beats or the tunes, whatever you want to call it, and just lay there and relax, and hopefully you fall asleep.
Is it typically a very relaxing session for you, Jan, or have you experienced times where your brain is working harder than other times to find some harmony or some balance or some peace?
Well, I'll remember one time I was reacting, and my legs were pounding on the
chair.
You'll remember that.
I remember that session. And you're like, why are my legs so busy?
I know. They just bam, bam, bam.
They were. And
you thought the roof was falling in.
were your legs in pain, or was it just that your brain was so agitated at that point that you were feeling it physically?
My brain was agitated. And I think after that session was a mark in, say, getting through a hard time and getting better, getting through a tough spot in my brain. I mean,
Great.
I could have broke that chair, but afterwards,
You
I
didn't
felt
break the chair.
better.
You felt better afterwards.
No. But I was better.
Yeah, you absolutely. When we come back, we're going to take a short break. We're going to chat with Jan about more of the process of how Cereset has really allowed her to get her life back and live it the way that is by her design. Thanks for being here. This is Smart Health with Dr. Alla. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We've been chatting with Jan, who suffered a traumatic brain injury and was describing some of the ailments that she suffered after that trauma, including sensitivity to light and sound. These are very common of concussion, and that is exactly what she suffered, which is what we term a mild traumatic brain injury, a concussion. And it's nothing to brush under the carpet. These are real symptoms. These are real people suffering. And on the outside, they look fantastic to everyone looking at them. But on the inside, they're lost. They can't sleep. They can't think. And Cereset is a process that I brought back in 2019 to Fargo because I, too, was seeing very many clients and patients with post-concussion syndrome like Jan has described. And I knew that there was going to be an answer out there if I just asked. And the answer was, how do I solve the problem of fatigue? And so if it's something that you or a loved one is suffering with, a post-concussion syndrome, brain fog, difficulty thinking, you can't seem to get deep, restful sleep, you're waking up tired, your body is agitated, it's restless, like Jan described her legs were during a session, as the brain was unraveling and unwrapping a workaround in order to make itself more efficient. Cereset may be the right next best step. And if you're interested in learning more, give our office a call here in Fargo at 701-566-5231 and get on the phone with Laura or even myself after the studio recording is done. And we would love to have a conversation about how we can help your brain help itself. So welcome back, Jan. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about what now your life looks like. What things are you now doing? And I really want you to share with the audience your first experience of that tapping foot at church.
Oh, that was awesome. We went, my husband and I and a couple friends, another couple, we went to eat, and it was in a different town, which was big for me. And we went to this church, and there was a singing group. And, you know, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, my foot started tapping to the music. I will never forget it. It was tapping to the music, and I wanted to just stand up and tell everybody, my foot is tapping to the music. My brain is feeling the beat. That was such an awesome feeling. I will never forget it.
You know, it gives me goosepimples as you describe it, and I've heard it several times because I often, you know, ask you when you're chatting with someone, when I see you, that is such an impactful change in someone's journey. You see, the brain runs on rhythms, and Jan was finally experiencing the cadence of the brain. Everything has timing. When the brain's timing is off, everything becomes more difficult. Words become discombobulated. Your vision starts to change, even though an eye exam shows you can perfectly see. But what you can't do is you can't bring that brain to give you a clear image. And all of a sudden, light becomes too toxic. Jan, tell me about, obviously, horses was a very important part of your introductory kind of blurb that you gave us. What are you doing now with your life with horses?
My life with horses, I have 2 horses. Since then, my accident, I lived in an apartment. I got married and moved to a hobby farm. And I have 2 horses, which I have ridden in Medora with a friend. We've camped, and I ride around home. I feed them every morning, 9 o'clock, 4 o'clock. They get fed, and they are like my world. They just are very important to me, and I can now experience that.
And
that was huge.
Absolutely was huge. And if we could just have, a snapshot to describe the changes that we see literally on Jan's facial expression from being flat, disengaged, disconnected, shuffling, no arm swing. These are important things that we assess when at the bedside we're assessing a brain injury. And Jan had all of the unfortunate red flags. Now she just is a card. She's funny. She's feisty. She's absolutely beautiful. She does things for herself, and she truly is living a life that when I first saw and met her, I didn't think was possible. So, Jan, I'm going to just ask you a quick feedback question. Do you think the process of Cereset could help others? And if so, why would it and could it?
Most definitely. If without Cereset, I would still be on that couch crying, or I'd be in a cardboard box. And with Cereset, my light sensitivity has pretty much gone away. I mean, it has gone away indoors, but outdoors, most people wear sunglasses. And I can now, as you see, I can talk a sentence and not have weird words come in. I don't wear earplugs. I can go to a church. I can go to a funeral. I can go to a birthday party. I do word puzzles, and I can read, and I walk and listen to the birds, and it's just nothing I could ever have done before. So anybody who is, I'll say, on the fence or thinking of Cereset, should I or shouldn't I? Will it work? Will it not work? Yes, please. It will work, because if I can help one person or many with my story, please, it is worth it. Go to Cereset. I would not have the life I am living now without it. So,
Jan, that is very impactful. For me, even though I've already heard your story several times, it still rings so deep in my soul that it gives me that want to learn even more about how that process can help so many different walks of life, whether it is because of a post-traumatic injury, whether you're dealing with a boatload of stress. While listening to Jan this afternoon, if it struck a bell for you, if it's hitting home, I want you to give our office a call. Give us a call at 701-566-5231, 701-566-5231, and ask Laura, when you call, about an introduction to Cereset. We're going to measure your brain's baseline. We're going to understand how you are responding to emotional stressors, and how your brain is responding to the physicalities of how stress can make your neck tight, give you a headache, make you physically feel like you're shaking, like Jan talked about with her legs. Because if we can measure where your brain's start point is, we can certainly give you a better picture of how we can move out of the pattern that is a workaround that might not be ideal and not allowing your brain to optimize. So we're going to take a short break. And again, Jan, thank you for being here today. Your story hits home for so many. And I hope that you will take some action and do what Jan just recommended. Give Cereset a call and help your brain help itself. We'll be right back. Smart Health with Dr. Alla. Welcome back. What a wonderful story Jan shared with us. And now we're going to shift gears and let me talk a little bit to all of you, because you're going to recognize a very similar person. Perhaps it's yourself, maybe it's a family member, a coworker, a friend, highly driven. Everything's important. all things have to happen at the same time and they must be done at the highest level, must take care of others first and not worry about self, must have things always pristine. Are we talking about a world of people who are stressed out professionals? We sure are. And my next guest, Crystal, is one of those high performing women. High performing women. She is a mother of 3 beautiful girls. I believe I got that right. She can correct me in a moment. If not, highly successful professional, no matter what industry she's been, including banking industry. Then I had a chat with her one day, and she can, confirm this. And I'm like, why aren't you building your husband's business to an extravagant level because he's too busy in the business and he needs someone building that business? And so after a little bit of a prompt, she sure did that and has grown this company into such a major influencer in the agricultural industry. But she's got responsibilities everywhere. Everyone depends on her. And she takes it like a Velcro jacket. And she's like, sure, a person that never can say no, even though she should at times. Have you ever met a person like Crystal? Perhaps you are a person like Crystal. But I can encourage you that every one of us can only do that for so long before we hit a break point. And so I want to welcome Crystal to the show today. She is a dear friend, and she has just made some great investments in her health and wellness. And I want to have her jump in and talk about stress and how stress has affected your life, Crystal. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Dr. Alla. Thanks for having me on your show today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of what I've experienced and what your team has helped me with.
Awesome. Give everyone a little context about how stress has been for you, a journey.
You bet. You bet. As I heard you say, and thank you, I have worked really hard with my husband after you and I had a conversation, I suppose it's about 15 years ago now, of making a change of life and going and working with him to grow something. And it was a very exciting opportunity for us to grow. We grew through the United States and into Canada during that period of time that I jumped on board and grew our business into something we hadn't originally expected. But along with that came, over time, some cracks with pressure, what I started to feel and see. But you just keep pushing ahead because that's what you want to do for others, you want to do for your business, you want to just keep succeeding. And unfortunately, as time progressed, what I started to feel is a little bit of what I would call burnout, but maybe more on the terms of the burnout was seeing not keeping all my ducks in a row, maybe having some decreased mental recall, maybe mental fog, decrease in my energy. I was shorter with people, snappier, and not fully enjoying the success that we were building, more so just kind of in robot mode and go, 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 and then not enjoying my family as much as I should have been either.
How did those times when things escalated and your company grew exponentially, which it did, and go ahead and tell the whole world who you are, who your companies are?
Oh, sure. We have a farm down near Wendell, Minnesota, and my husband is a third-generation farmer here and a third-generation seed company owner for Adams Seed down by Wendell, Minnesota. In about 25, 30 years ago, he started a company called Thunder Seed, just a small regional seed company at the time here in the United States. And in about 2008, 2009, he decided it was time to take it to the next level with 2 other owners that we are partners with and move into Canada. And that's when he started asking if I'd want to come on board and really take the lead of expanding our business. At the time, I had 3 daughters, or we had 3 daughters that were, in 2008, they would have been 2, 4, and 6. And so it was a big challenge that I was I was nervous for, but I was also in a stage of life where I was really aggressive and wanting to build something big and do something special together. And I was young, and so it felt like, okay, I can do it all. I can do it all, and it it worked for a while. It did very well as far as my brain function and my energy and everything. But after a little bit, you start after, I suppose, 5 to 8 years, I started to feel some of that mental fatigue. And mental fatigue doesn't only mean your mind is tired; it starts to affect your body and your interests and different things.
Tell me how your physical body felt when you were kind of hitting the wall in your thinking part of your brain. You had
You
you
bet.
had used words like I feel anxious. Describe that.
Very much. I started to feel anxious. I'm typically a very social person, but I became someone who just stopped wanting to socialize. Almost felt fearful of going places that were social, seeing people, and that's just not my nature. I'm very much somebody who loves to sit down and visit with people, catch up, hear how people are doing, go to a social event. But for that period of time, I started to notice myself just really wanting to stay at home. If I wasn't at work or chasing the kids, I just didn't want to be a part of society much, and it bothered me because that used to bring me so much joy and enjoyment, and for a while I just wasn't finding my joy at all through anything. Um, and even at that time, I wasn't finding joy through the success or the work or any of the pieces of my life. Really, I started to recognize that.
Exactly. And I think that that's something so many of us suffer with, that you grind, you do, you set goals, you achieve those goals, you surpass those goals. And it's not as if it's not enough. It's just like what's next. And some of us thrive on keeping on chasing that feeling of what success feels like. But when you start to hit the wall and you start to feel your physical self imploding, you're nervous, your hands are sweaty, you're shaking, you are restless, you can't stop tapping your foot. All of a sudden, you're picking at your nails. All of a sudden, you're looking in the mirror and saying, where did that weight gain come from? Why is my
Yeah.
hair thinning? And
Yep.
what is that thing around my belly that I've never seen before? And why do I not have energy? Are any of
Right.
those things you experienced as well as a result of the stress load?
Oh, I would say every one of them, everything you mentioned, I started to experience, recognize of self. I'd look in the mirror, my face was puffy. I was had a lot of edema. I'd carry it in my legs. I'd carry the stress in my stomach. I had everything from more acid reflux to just an overall unhealthy feeling in my body, and it started to weigh me down, not only on the scale but just how I felt. Everything felt a little harder and a little more sluggish and a little, it just wasn't normal for me.
And then we chatted, and I said, Crystal, what about Cereset? And you're like, I'm
You
willing
bet.
to do whatever it takes. And so describe
Absolutely.
how Cereset has helped optimize your day in and day out operations, not only of your personal life, your physical, your business life, and perhaps your even spiritual life.
Absolutely. And I can go from session one, and I've done a number of sessions, and then now I just do tune-ups here and there, but I've done sessions of six here and then another session of six. Even after my very first session, one thing I felt like, I was like, should I even be driving after this? Because I felt so light, so relaxed, almost like I'd had a glass of wine. And and I spoke to Laura, and she's like, yeah, you're totally fine. I just felt so much pressure off of me. It was so strange. And it's it's a little bit hard to describe, but right from the get-go, that very first session, I felt some decreased mental fog. I felt some increased energy, decreased anxiety. I actually, for the first time in my life, probably felt like what people talk about when they explain meditation and how important that is. That's something I'd never done before. Some sessions I'd actually fall asleep for a little bit. Others I'd just relax really deeply. I was able to sleep better at night and focus more and stay on task. Now, this is only after session one. And then after a complete session of six, I started to feel like me again. I really started to feel like me again. And it was pretty dramatic, the change. My husband noticed, my kids noticed. I was having memory recall that was stronger. I wasn't forgetting why I did this, or if I didn't make the hard, fast list, I wasn't going to Home Depot and only remembering one of the 6 things that I needed. It really helped my clarity.
That's absolutely fantastic. And so many of us who are really interested in experiencing life to the fullest, perhaps we're drivers, type A's, whatever you call it, perhaps we're just not fun haters and we're just fun lovers. The process of Cereset can help your brain optimize. It can help improve your brain's balance, its brain harmony. Basically, make the brain operate after the Control Alt Delete buttons that we all so want to use each and every day. When we come back after this short break, I'm going to discuss with Crystal some of the recommendations as a high earning professional, a high driven professional, how to improve your response to stress. I'm Dr. Ala with Smart Health, and we'll be back right shortly. Welcome back, and it's been a wonderful day conversing both with Jan. As a result of a traumatic brain injury, Cereset has helped change her life into a life that she was looking for. And now we're speaking with Crystal, who's that high, stressed, demanding, very kind and generous human that wants to help everyone's success and is a professional who's running her own business with her husband, multiple businesses. But stress got the best of her. She was having compromised sleep. Her thinking was changing. It wasn't on point. And if you met Crystal, she's on point. She's just a person that you'll never forget when you meet. She was having difficulty responding to new stressors. And because she's a mom of 3, guess how many stressors daughters bring each and every day, Crystal, right? I mean, girls, I have one. Dear God, help us. Talk about, Crystal, what now you do when stress starts to get out of hand and how your responses have changed since the process of Cereset.
You bet. They've changed significantly, I'll be honest with you. One thing that I never did was stop. I tended to be a very reactive person. I don't know if I mentioned that in the first session, but I was also very reactive to if a fire, a fire came up at work, not a literal fire, but a stressor or whatnot. Now, after Cereset, what I find myself doing is pausing, thinking, praying, breathing, things I didn't do before. And I know breathing sounds funny, but I didn't. And you could tell that about me as well. When I talked to you, I just wasn't taking time to take those deep breaths. Just think through things. Take that moment. Take time. I didn't have to be so responsive. I didn't have to be so quick to react and think and handle. Because sometimes that's where the mistakes would happen. Sometimes that's where the stress would increase. Now, what I find myself, like I said, you stop, you think, you pray, you breathe. And it has made so much difference in my life and what I'm doing. And I feel like such a more joyful person, a more clear person. I feel like I'm able to respond to people in better, more helpful ways than I was before, I guess.
That's awesome. And I think that that's right on point with how the process of Cereset has helped my life. And I literally went to learn more to find the answer to my group of clients that had concussions and had this terrible amount of fatigue. But whether you've had a traumatic brain injury or stress has created what would be maybe measured as a physiologic traumatic brain injury, like Crystal has described with her stressors, life needs to be lived with control. And we can't control our destinies. We can't control what's in front of us, but we can control our response to stress. And so what Crystal's describing is that taking a breath, putting some space between receiving maybe some information and then giving your 2 cents or perhaps direction or maybe having agreement is important. The brain operates based upon energy. And I wanted you to kind of finish up a little bit of how stress affected your energy levels. Talk to me a little bit about that, Crystal, so that the audience can understand that when fatigue hits, whether it's post-traumatic or post-physiologic because you put too much on your plate, how does your energy get compromised?
My energy became depleted. I would find myself sleeping more, not in a healthy way, just feeling like, you know what, I just want to go to bed and hide. I would find myself having nothing left to give for my children or for my husband, off work, right? So I wasn't balanced. I wasn't balanced at all where I could manage both the careers and the family and my friends. And it became worrisome for me, and I became more anxious from that as well. So then it became a perpetual cycle of just shutting down and not wanting to move forward in those areas. And that was probably the hardest time in my life, because I want to be an excellent present mom. I want to be a great wife. I want to be a beautiful friend to people. They deserve good friends. And until I really reset my brain, I was failing in those areas.
And I think that so many people can understand exactly what you just described with their own professional life, their own personal life, their marriage, their children's relationships. And so when you're thinking about what do I do when I feel anxious? What do I do when I feel like I don't want to get out of bed? These are not always diagnoses of anxiety or depression. Sometimes your brain is just overwhelmed. And the process of Cereset may be the next best step. So the things that you have heard today from both Jan and Crystal are starting to kind of feel like your own journey. And you're thinking about, how can I reset my own brain too? Then it is a great idea or opportunity for you to give our office a call in Fargo at 701-566-5231. Speak with Laura about the process of Cereset. Speak with her about the brain's baseline, the introduction to Cereset, where we measure where your brain is starting. Because if we can help your brain help itself without influencing it, without changing it, literally giving it an opportunity to hear itself in real time, it's amazing how much better your journey is. Crystal, when you think about the process of Cereset and the tones you hear in your ears, were there times where you would hear sounds that were different from perhaps when you are now in that tune-up phase of your journey?
Absolutely, yes. Pitch, the high or the low of the pitches were different at the beginning than they are now. What I'm finding is during my tune-up sessions now, it's even more relaxing. It's just more refreshing, more energy boosting, even during the session. Whereas before, I think it was correcting so many of my little nuances going on in my brain and my stresses that I didn't feel as refreshed right away. But during the session now, I'm like, this is great. I'm feeling so much better already. So.
That's just fabulous. And the way you described it is truly the brain harmonizing and balancing, just like a piano tuner would do to your beautiful baby grand. Crystal, thank you for joining us today. The information you shared is just absolutely amazing. And people are going to learn because you sacrificed your time and your energy to join us today. So I thank you so much for being on the show. You know,
Happy to help, and thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. So it's important as we close today's session to think about the importance of knowledge, learning, checking different avenues that you can explore to help your brain help itself. We want to help the brain build upon each experience, not suffer from each experience. And so if you're a person that's trying to help improve your brain's optimization, give Cereset Fargo a call at 701-566-5231. Speak with Laura, and she will help you get on our schedule to learn what your brain's baseline is. I'm Dr. Ala. This is Smart Health, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great rest of your Thursday.